So I've really been messing around with this idea of via negativa. I actually heard about it first on a podcast, but I'd actually been doing it all my life. The podcast was a holisticism episode. Each Friday they do like a Friday philosophy, and the concept that they were diving into and explaining was via negativa. And if you've never heard of it before, basically it is figuring out what you are or what something is. I guess answering that question of like who I am is really what I've utilized it for, but doing so by figuring out what you are not or naming what you are not first. And a couple of videos ago, I mentioned how I was not an expert and I don't want to be an expert more specifically. And that is via negativa, right? Like it's a really powerful way to figure out who you are. And I've always found it way easier to identify with what I'm not or something I don't like than to identify who I am, what I do like. And I think it was probably 2 years ago, I kind of went on this like self-discovery or like self-discovery journey, if you will. And at the time, I really struggled to like really define myself. Because there's a difference between knowing who you are and then being able to define yourself. And I actually don't want to be definable. That's actually one thing that I figured out through Via Negativa and using that philosophy and concept is that I don't want to be definable. Like I don't want to have a niche. I don't want to do just one job. I don't want to be beholden to anybody's concept of perfection or even societal constructs around what it is and what it means to be a woman, what it is and means to be a mother. These are all things that like freaked me out and fueled a lot of my fear and still does for my entire life. And so I thought I would just spend today talking about the things that I don't want to be and things that are of no use to me, not interested. And yeah, maybe some things that I hate because I think it's a good exercise. So I mentioned the other day that I don't want to be an expert in a world that sort of tells you that if you don't have an expertise in something, then you'll never get very far. I also was watching the Simone Biles documentary on Netflix. Again, further reminding me and solidifying that I do not want to be an expert. I don't want to be hidden. I think that's another really big one, hence why I'm here on YouTube doing these things that I'm doing with these videos. I don't like to, even as far as like, I don't like to shut my mouth. I don't like to feel like I should or have to keep things private. Something I'm struggling a lot with when it comes to the whole trying to conceive thing. If you're a listener of the podcast, you know that's something that it's a journey that I'm on. And I've mentioned it in passing here. And every time I do, I'm like, oh, people don't do that. Like you're not supposed to talk about it. I don't know if this also comes from being from a family where we really share everything. We overshare. I'm an oversharer. I also don't know if it makes me feel even more uncomfortable because I'm with somebody and I'm married to somebody I am married to a person that is incredibly private and wants to be hidden in certain ways. He is not an extrovert. He is not somebody who wants to be the center of attention. And I not only do not have like an indifference to being the center of attention, but a general desire to be the center of attention. And why do we do this, right? Like, why is it important? Because that's the other thing. I was like, do I really need to analyze all of this stuff? Do I really need to like think about this? Do I need more language? Do I need more words? Or do I just need to shut the fuck up and just do it and not explain myself? Because if one of the core things that I want to be is undefinable, then I need to let go of the idea that I need to define myself in order for other people to perceive me. Because here's the other thing, if I don't want to be hidden, it means in reverse that I do want to be perceived. And when I say I want to be perceived, that feels very true. And I mean, can we even not be perceived at all? I don't think so. I mean, even if you're not online, you're still going out into the world and being perceived by people. Like, I don't think that that's anything that we can control unless we want to literally be a hermit. And I guess what I'm trying to figure out is that good or bad? Is it good that I don't want to be definable or I want to be undefinable? Is it good that I want to be perceived? Or is that bad? Am I going to get to 60 years old and be like, that was such a egotistical, materialistic, unnecessary desire? It wasn't actually a desire. It was just this, I don't know, wanting attention. But then again, like, is wanting attention bad? Is wanting to be seen bad? No. I want to be loved. I want to be adored. I want to be heard. And then it swings me back to my values of like, you know, not only are there things that, you know, I value in the sense of like normal human things like family, freedom, play, like, you know, whatever our value system may be, but do I actually value being seen? And then what does that mean about me? Or does it mean nothing at all? I guess what I'm trying to say is like, is self-discovery and self-identification a gift or a curse? Is it necessary? Do I need it to feel fulfilled as a human being from a scientific perspective? Or does it cause more harm than good? We're begging the question here, is ignorance bliss? Because sometimes I look at people who are not introspective and aren't curious. I guess it just comes from the fact that maybe I'm curious and, you know, everyone's favorite thing is themselves. And so, of course, I'm curious about myself and I do enjoy the process of figuring these things out. But I also get really tired. And then it makes me think about the New Age spirituality movement and how that's kind of just the same as old school religion. And the through lines around oppression through those two different seemingly oppositional movements are actually, like, there's a lot of them. And if I don't want to be hidden and I don't want to be oppressed and I don't want to be all these things, and therefore I want to be free and I want to be creative and I want to be curious, at what point does it become obsessive? And at what point am I just simply overthinking? I don't think I have any answers, but a conclusion is that figuring out what you're not or what you don't resonate with or what you dislike is just as cool, as powerful, as exciting, as thought-provoking, as stimulating, and as positive as being able to identify who it is that you are and what it is that you like, and et cetera, et cetera. And I do think that that can be misconstrued as like being a Debbie Downer or being hyperbolic or being abrasive, intense, and negative Nancy because you're focusing on the quote unquote negative. But sometimes that helps. I feel like that's the only way I've been able to self-identify. And contrary to everything I've just said, it does feel good to know who you are. And for me, it's essential. So maybe it's just not essential for everybody. And maybe I need to put some boundaries around that because I get really tired and I get really like, I don't feel my feelings. I like think them through, and that's a trauma response. So I want to stop doing that. But yeah, Via Negativa, try it out. Rock on.